So I know that I've been working on legislation from the school choice now where I make sure that your pre-pandemic education course is cemented for your future in spite of the pandemic. I know that you have tackled a number of initiatives around education and choice. You want to share one or two with us?
I do, and thanks again for that. I'll say this: this topic we're having right now is the new civil rights. This is something, and the good thing is that it's just not a color thing. It's not just a culture. It's literally across our country because we are competing against the rest of the world. And our kids are the very best if we give them an opportunity. They understand freedom. They understand vision. So this is a great conversation. Again, I want to thank you again for allowing me to be part of it. There's a Education Freedom Scholarship and Opportunity Act that I've actually introduced. And Senator Scott, I want to thank you for being co-sponsor on a like bill in the Senate was represented that was presented by Ted Cruz. Basically, what it does, it allows for federal write-offs for those who to donate for individuals and companies that donate for at-risk kids. And it's something that the states will have to opt into if they want to do that. So it's still a state-driven process. They decide how it's going to be pushed out there, but it allows, again, for us to think about how can we take those of us who have gotten to the point we can give back. How do we make sure our young people have the choice to go to the best place possible for their education? And this is one of those bills that are going to get it done. And I'm excited about that. Was one actually my first bill that I put in place when I joined Congress, because it was actually, again, where my passion is in a big way, to say the least. So we're going to see a lot more of this as we begin to work together, the Senate and the House, as we get into this new year. And I'm excited about pulling some triggers to get our kids these options that we really need to have.
Well, Burgess, you just raised a really important point. And Connie, I'd love to hear your comments on this too, because all across the country, there are businesses who want to invest in the education of our most marginalized citizens, literally giving them the incentive of a tax credit, maybe up to $5 or $10 billion nationwide, not for one business, but for all businesses, is part of the startup that we've been seeing around the Congress, looking for ways to get businesses more involved. And when you look at states that have education savings accounts, if you had businesses able to contribute to, let's say, for kids going to Title I schools, I mean, this would be a breakthrough opportunity to solve that zip code problem that you talked about earlier, Condi. And I know that my next question for you will be around the Hoover Institute's focus on school choice and parental involvement. But I do think that this is a great opportunity for us to get more businesses involved in the education structure and strength in their local communities.
I think it's a very important point because one of the things that the United States has going for it that so many countries don't is what I'll call civil society. It means that the government doesn't have to do everything. The government just has to make it possible to do everything. And when you think about civil society, you think about the non-governmental organizations that are working and fighting for school choice and fighting for a good quality education for kids. But you also think of the business community that actually has a self-interest in making sure that there is an educated workforce.
Right.
And I like the fact I myself is somebody who believed the founding fathers got it right, put most of the power in the states. And so when you look at states that can opt in, and they have reasons to have high quality education because you cannot attract businesses to a state where there isn't a workforce that is prepared. And so businesses have a self-interest in creating the workforce and indeed the workforce of the future. That means the workforce that can not just read and write, but can do STEM activities as well. And so having them as a partner, but having the federal government say, we're going to make it really worthwhile for you to do this because we know it's in your interest. That's an awfully good use of that. And then places like the Hoover Institution, what we do is that we do the research, we mobilize the data, we look in a clear-eyed way at problems and say, what have we not done well? What should we do more of? What isn't working? And we do that from a research data-based way of looking at it. And that then provides an understanding of what the best policy courses can be. I just have to mention here that our inestimable Tom Sowell, one of the great economist of all times, and a tremendous advocate, now more than 90 years old, wrote a book not too long ago on charter schools, and he's still one of those voices. So what we here at Hoover can do is to make sure that we understand these problems from a data research base, and then we can give voice to those who want to take up the mantle of what I think Burgess correctly called the civil rights issue of our times. Because if you're not educated, you cannot exercise your democratic rights in this society.
And can I say this?
Amen to that. And I know Burgess is getting ready to say something,
Can-
but let me just say this before you
okay.
hit that. Burgess, when I was in a former lifetime, I was the chairman of the Economic Development Committee for Charleston County. And one of the things that we faced on an ongoing basis at that point in time, we still do today, I'm sure, is companies would be prospecting and they would ask about the education system and the ability of the students to be the workforce of the future. So I think you were spot on when you were talking about the importance of education as it relates to our business community. And when you talked about that civil society's responsibility may be more important than the government trying to do everything, let the civil society do everything and let the government set the rules of the roads. Thank you, Burgess. Go right ahead.
And just to kind of add on to what Dr. Rice said, our founders got it right. We're a nation. Actually, believe it or not, we thrive on contrast once we see it. Here we are. We're talking, or we all have different platforms. We're talking, though, as we the people, about a solution that we now understand is a problem. We've gone for so many decades, really not understanding what was happening to our kids and the direction we were heading off to. Now, all of a sudden, just like Pearl Harbor or 9/11, we wake up one day and say, we have an issue. And no matter what side of the aisle we sit on, Democrats, Independents, or Republicans, we all love our kids. We all want a greater future. So we're coming up with solutions now that we just would not have had if we had not gone through some really tough times. And my confidence is the American people, once we know we're fighting together, we just win. As Al Davis used to say, Condi, we just win, baby. and and that's who we are. So I'm thankful that we now have panels like this across this country, parents getting off the sideline to get on the field, and we're going to get this thing accomplished because we do care about our kids, and we're the innovative nation. That's who we are. We'll come up with the right solution to make our kids sure our kids have a great future.
If I may just say one final point, and that's about the national security perspective. As you know, that's really what I did for a living, was national security. There is no more important issue for us in terms of our national security than to educate our people, both for our internal cohesion and for our competitiveness abroad. We need to recognize that other countries out there are educating their kids, and they're educating to very high levels. We don't want to get to a place where we only educate some of our kids. The strength of America is that you were never prisoner of the circumstances of your birth. Senator Scott, you are a shining example of that. My dear friend, the late Colin Powell, was a shining example of not being captive of the circumstances of your birth. You get to move up in this society. And that has made us the envy of the world, that you weren't trapped into the place that you were born. And yet, if we can't make education available to all of our kids, we'll no longer really be able to say that, and we will be weaker, both as a country and weaker as a shining city on the hill, as Ronald Reagan said, as a beacon for others to understand that that's really when democracy is at its strongest, when everybody has a chance.